Hey folks, well, welcome back to my video series. As I explained last week, I am going off-piste a little. Usually I'm here every week to give you tips on how to do what you love, but with everything that is going on in the world at the moment, I want to give you tips and tools to cope with your emotions right now. Because chances are that's what is taking up most of your headspace at the moment. How can I deal with the way that I'm feeling and feel okay at a time of huge uncertainty? So I've just got 4 little prompts for you today to just support you throughout the week when you might feel that your mind is starting to spiral into an area that you feel is just going to drain you, but you're really not sure what to do with your thinking. So the first little prompt is to just be aware of the fact that your mind right now is going to be sort of poked and prodded into constantly thinking about the worst case scenarios for you and your life and your loved ones right now. Because you're in this time of mass uncertainty, it's an unprecedented experience. What your mind is going to do is constantly be looking for reasons to be worried and constantly be looking for danger. Now, unfortunately, life is going to be showing you the potential for danger everywhere right now. Given the fact that trying to block out the worst case scenarios is super stressful, you can do one of 2 things with them. You can either write them all down and address them one by one and see actually how you can respond to each one. There will be something that you can either do or simply accept in order to not let that be some big, huge thing that you've got to keep worrying about. But the second thing is to simply just remind yourself and get a bit of perspective here when it comes to worst case scenarios. And just remind yourself that life has never been certain. You've never had that certainty that tomorrow everything will be okay. You have lived all the years that you've been alive so far, all those days, never knowing if the worst case scenario could happen that afternoon or the next day. And you know what? You've been fine. You've been fine. You haven't needed to know. So when you realize that actually every single day I've never known what the worst case scenario might be for tomorrow, I haven't constantly been thinking about it and focusing on all the worst case things that can happen tomorrow. And also one thing that you haven't been doing is constantly thinking about all the suffering going on in the world. You've gone about your day. You haven't been thinking, 20 times a day. What about the poor people in hospital right now? Are there enough ventilators for them? What about the poor doctors and nurses that are having a really tough time? What about all the people in the world that are having incredible stress at the moment as a result of all sorts of different things in their life? The difference is with these kind of situations is that we're constantly being reminded about it because this is unusual. The whole world is going through this and it's on the news constantly, and you're home all of the time if you're in self-isolation right now and you're watching it, constantly again being aware of this. So because your mind is constantly searching for danger and seeing how it can resolve it, you have to be able to manage that. So one of those ways is, as I said, actually getting it onto paper and dealing with it. And another way is simply to remind yourself that in a lot of ways nothing has changed. It's uncertain, yes, but life has always been uncertain. You've never had a guarantee that you'll be okay tomorrow. And up until now, you've been just fine. And then the third thing I want you to do is actually, if you're going to spend time thinking about the worst case scenario, I want you to also think about the best case scenario. What is the best thing that can happen now? Now, I know that your brain is going to want to immediately shut that down and go, well, it's just not likely. The best case scenario stuff is even less likely to happen given what's going on in the economy and in the world right now. But I really do believe in the power of visualization, and you can never, you're never going to run into trouble visualizing about something that could be the best case scenario. At worst, nothing happens. At best, you feel a great deal better. And actually, better than that, some of these things might even happen. There are so many stories of people who have visualized things into being. So to balance out all of that obsessing about the worst case scenario stuff, which is of no fault of your own if you're doing this, is just natural. It's what your brain is wired to do. And right now there is a huge amount of information being fed to your brain to make it do that job really well. But what you can do in order to handle your emotions is to spend time, an equal amount of time in fact, focusing on the best case scenarios. What are the best things that can come out of this? And that leads me on to point number 3, which is, what about this situation am I grateful for? Because there will be things that we can spend a huge amount of time thinking about everything we're not grateful for in this situation, everything we want to resist, everything that's been taken away from us with our freedom, perhaps our financial security, our health security, all sorts of things. Although again, with health security, we never had it in the first place. Anything could have happened at any point, but you know what I mean. And so when you think about what you're really grateful for from this situation, you stop having so much resistance towards it, because you can start to see there is some value in it. So I really encourage you just to take 10 minutes to sit down, pen and paper, get a journal out and write down, what am I grateful for in this situation? And then the last thing is to just challenge yourself really and think, what can I do that will help me to be my best right now in this situation? Because what you could find is that you might wake up in a couple of weeks' time. You know, a lot of us right now at recording are hearing rumours that it could be 12 weeks that we're like this. We might not be out of self-isolation and lockdown until June. And again, every reason to do this work, because your brain will have an awful lot of problems with that potentially. But what if we all start to get used to it being June, but actually mid-April they're like, well, actually you can go back to work and go back to school now, or, you know, just some things will start to creep in that are normal. Is there going to be a part of you that will think, I missed out on my opportunity. I had plans. I hadn't really thought about them, but I did actually think that in this situation, it would have been really good to just appreciate this or that, or maybe get that done, or maybe just enjoy that one element from it. I might be really concerned about these other elements that it's caused, but this one element of maybe thriving in the fact that there is no routine, there's no having to be anywhere, you've slowed down. Like, you don't want to get to the end of this experience and go, I didn't enjoy it. So I really want you to ask yourself about what you can do right now that will mean that you are at your best in this situation. And so when you start to take all these things together, you've got balance now around best case scenarios as well as worst case scenarios. And you're also being grateful for the things in this situation that actually are good and are of value. And then you're also pushing yourself a little to think about what you can do to be at your best right now. You're going to wake up tomorrow in a very different headspace than if you continue to maybe not manage your mind and just be consumed with all of these what ifs. So I hope that helps you this week. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email address is underneath this video. And if you see this in time, I am hosting a live workshop on Tuesday. What is the date on Tuesday? It's the 31st of April. At 7 p.m. UK time. It's a live workshop on how to manage your emotions. So we will actually do it in an interactive way where I'll be setting you guys questions to be able to answer live in your own space. I mean, you can join it just by watching and hearing me, and nobody can see and hear you. It'll be a Zoom call. Or you can join in and I can see and hear you as well. Just do whatever suits you, but do join us and spend a little time learning maybe some new techniques or refreshing on some old techniques that are going to help you manage your emotions, because this is one of those strange opportunities where you can make this mean whatever you want it to in your life. You get to choose how you feel about it, you get to choose how you think about it, and you get to choose how you behave during it. And all of those things are going to either result in you feeling an undue suffering or potentially thriving through this. So join me on Tuesday the 31st of March, if you're seeing this in time, for a live workshop on how to manage your emotions, and definitely go through those 4 little steps that I've just given you and start getting things shaken up inside your mind and getting a little bit of order and a little bit of control over how you're feeling. All right, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.